Alright, what's up everyone? Today I'm gonna have a tutorial on, basic Photoshop. So I got a lot of feedback in the last video and we're gonna mix things up a little bit. This time I'm gonna have shortcut keys in the description. So I'm gonna do my best to make sure that the shortcuts are mentioned while I'm doing them in the video. I'm gonna try and make sure that I also mention them for Windows. So if you're not on Mac, you're gonna know what you're doing. But yeah, if you, for whatever reason, do not understand when I say the shortcut, they're going to be all in the description with descriptions of what they do. So anyway, I had a big suggestion to show basics of using a tablet. I also had a huge suggestion for shortcut videos, and some people have asked for basic photo editing. So I'm kind of going to just do a basic rundown of the program, and I'm going to bring in some photos and I'm going to show you some basic editing techniques that I use on my photos. So without further ado, let's get started. So if you have your tablet plugged in, I'm pretty sure you've already figured that much out and you've got your settings handled. That's pretty, personal what your settings are going to be for your tablet. I can't really tell you what to set your stuff at. It's really going to depend on you as far as pressure goes, etc. So now we're just going to go ahead and bring in some photos and get started. So this was an edit that I did earlier. This is the original. So as you can see, there's a few differences there. I'm just going to go ahead and bring in this photo, and we're going to work on this photo today. So for those of you who have never used Camera Raw, basically Camera Raw is it's a way that you get your photos, and it's really high quality. So this, for example, it's an extremely high quality photo. You can see, put this in 100%, and you can get extremely close up with this, and you can really see fine details in the face. So we use CR2s when we do photo. So there's default, there's auto. I'm gonna go ahead and set this for default because I would like to work in default. Actually, hold up. I think this actually might have come with the preset on it, so let me try dragging that back in, because I would like to have the preset. Come on. Try again. There we go. So there's a little bit of a preset on here. Just going to go ahead and open this image. Okay, so here's our image. As I said before, it's a CR2, and it looks to have, I didn't really like the lighting in this shot. I took a shot before that I really liked. Unfortunately, the resolution just did not come out to what I had hoped, and I kind of tried to replicate it. Unfortunately, the lighting was, we just couldn't get it right. But this was one of the finalized pieces that we had after the shoot, and I'm going to try and work with this and show you guys a few basics. So we're going to go ahead and Command 0, of course, to fill the frame here. Whenever you do Command 0, it's going to fill your image to this kind of bounding bus right here. You see it ends here, and it will also end over here if possible. But this will also work if you have a low-res image. So if you are, at this view and it's 100%, and you do Command 0, it's going to blow it up above 100% to fit it. So you have to kind of be careful with that when you're editing, because it can distort your view. And I don't know about you guys, but I really like to work high quality. If I work on distorted images, it kind of throws me off, especially if I'm doing photo editing like this. So anyway, all into photo editing. Usually the first step that I recommend for everyone if you're doing photo editing is to just go in here and jump your layer, because you always want to have copies of your original. So just go ahead and unlock that right there, turn that off, rename this to original, just so people know, hey, this is the original layer. Do not screw this layer up. I'm actually going to turn this back on and lock that again real quick just to make sure there's a little safety lock on there. You see, it's going to prevent me from doing anything. You never want to screw up your original. Just keep that in mind, guys. So over here, you got a bunch of tools. A lot of these tools I use daily when I do photo editing. Spot healing is probably the most used. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to size this down a little bit. Turn my pressure on for easiness and just kind of brush away the redness here. Right there, right there. It's not going away. It might actually be dust on my screen. Yes, it is. If those of you that don't dust your screens, you might want to start doing that. Let's see here. I've got some hairs right here. Just gonna try and get rid of these. Now, obviously, you could really, go fast with this and probably get them out of there real quick. I like to go very slow sometimes because I very like to be accurate with my strokes and make sure I'm taking out what I want to take out, nothing more. Just a little bit of red right there. Try and get that out of there. Perfect. A little bit right there. Perfect. Right here. Perfect. All right. So each little bit, you're gonna slowly, just go over. You don't want to take too much at one time because what that will do is eventually that will cause the spot heal to stop working effectively, and you could get outcomes that you don't necessarily like. So that's one of the reasons I don't spot heal the entire face at the same time. So obviously spot healing is a very long process. It's probably the longest process in photo editing is spot healing blemishes or things in a photo that you just might not like. When they're easy, they're extremely easy to fix. As you guys can see, I'm already well on my way of getting there. And of course, for those of you who don't know, the spot healing brush tool shortcut is J. So you can of course hit J. And I do believe if you double tap, actually no, I could have sworn there was a double tap plugin you can get, but I cannot remember. But if you need to switch tools, obviously just come over here, click. J is a good shortcut to remember though, if you need to quickly switch. There's a little bit right there. I don't like that. Perfect. Take care of that. Take care of that. A little bit there. Right there. Just a little bit going on there that I don't like. Perfect. Okay, so we got my face healed up pretty good. There's one little bit right there. There. Okay, perfect. Now you can see the shirt. Now the shirt from afar doesn't look that bad, but close up, you guys can see the detail of how dirty this shirt really is. So spot heal is also very effective for this. Simply go in, remove it. It's a very, very quick process. Now, I want to point this out right here where I messed up real quick. So sometimes this is one of these areas where you might want to take time and be accurate, because if you're not accurate right here, you can get some distortions to your shirt or whatever it is you may be editing, and you may not like the outcome, as I saw before. So this is one of those times when you just might want to go a little slower. For video purposes, I'm going to try and speed through a little bit of this just for quality's sakes. Let's see. That right here, this doesn't look realistic, so we have to redo that. Get that a little bit right there. Let's see. Now we're starting to get to that point where it kind of just doesn't want to heal right. So I'm just going to go ahead and make this a little smaller. I'm just going to go in there. It's a little bit better. For those of you who don't know, the keys I'm pressing right now to change brush size, that is the bracket keys. the shortcut should work on both Mac and PC. Okay, I'm not liking that look I'm getting right there. So I'm trying to get rid of that. Perfect. So obviously the closer you get, you're going to start to see more details that you may or may not like. I'm going to just try to get the major ones out of there. So obviously we don't want to sit here all day while I remove imperfections. That's not what we're here for. Okay, there's a little bit of hair right there. Just go ahead and remove that. Perfect. Okay, now this might be right here where I want to increase my brush size a little bit so that I can effectively grab that entire strand right there. Okay, so that's enough for, retouching right now. Obviously, it's not a retouching, spot heal class. It's a basic retouching class. So I have to show you guys more than spot healing. Now, of course, you guys can see right here. Now, for those of you who have watched some of my other videos, you will see a video where I actually photoshopped a logo onto this little bit right here. So this is possible. It's 100% possible, and it's not hard to do. Really all I did was I took my lasso tool and I just kind of went around here, and basically what I did with this is I jumped it, I set it to multiplies to get rid of the whites and to keep the shadowing. Then what I did was I put my logo right in there, put that on top, and the multiply will basically send these shadows over the logo to make it look like it's blending with the shirt. Basics. For those of you wondering, I just did Command D to deselect. Should be Control D on Windows. So now that we're done with that, I'm going to kind of show you guys how to do something a little bit more advanced that a lot of people don't realize. Now, I've done this with a lot of shirts. I don't know that this specifically will work with this design, but we're going to give it a shot and see how it goes. So the content aware move tool is good for many things. And I say this because when you move something, especially on a shirt, it readapts. And sometimes I like to have a very clean shirt. So let's say I want to go ahead and get rid of this text box right here. So I'm just going to draw right around the text box. So I'm going to get, a bit of jagged line, but that's not a problem for me. I just don't care. So what I'm then going to do is I'm going to just click, drag, and drop. Now, if this works as some of the other designs have, you're going to see how it brings in this little bit down here where there's just a little bit left. It doesn't look too natural. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my patch tool. I'm just going to draw right around here. Drop. Deselect. So now what we have here is a clean shirt. And I got my text right there. Now, obviously, we could remove this. Now, first, I would like to tell you why I'm choosing not to remove this. For one, you can see the little hairs on my arm. Now, if you remove this, I'm not for sure that this is going to happen, but if you remove this, I believe you're going to get a little bit of distortion. So that's why I'm choosing not to try and remove this in this video. I should have positioned my arm a little bit more down if I truly wanted to remove that bit right there. But seeing as I like to have that logo in my shirt anyway, it's not that much of an issue. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that back there by doing Control Alt Z if you're on a Windows, or Command Option Z if you're on a Mac. It's basically to do your undoing, or you can just do Command Z if you have to undo and redo if you're trying to see how something looks. For example, I could get my little brush here, just do some crazy strokes up there. Command Z will just go ahead and toggle that for me, and I can see how it looks with and without. So it's a nice shortcut to have around sometimes. So back to basic editing. Let's say, for example, that I wanted to get rid of this shadow up here. Now, it's not easy to do, and I'm going to show you guys why real quick. One theory that a lot of basic users will come to is that they will try and select a color that's fairly similar around the image. Now, sometimes this will work, and sometimes it will not. I'm going to show you why. So, just gonna slowly paint in right there. Okay, so you guys can still see an edge. Now, some of you may not, some of you may. That's just kind of how it goes. So I'm going to try and get this as perfect as I possibly can. So just going to kind of brush over here. Okay, so now we're starting to get to that little point where it's just not going to look okay. Now would be a very, very good time to try the patch tool. So I would like to just go ahead and patch this up. Come on, just a little bit better. Okay, perhaps patch tool is not the best option for this. The reason patch tool did not work, I'm going to show you guys this, is because right now we are on a layer where there really is nothing else. So when you're trying to use your patch tool, and for example, if I select right here, there's nothing to move, and that's why your patch tool will not work. It's a basic mistake that even I make sometimes, and it's very good that it has actually happened in the tutorial, because it's a good time for me to point this out to you guys who may make this mistake. Whenever a tool does not work in Photoshop, the first thing you guys are going to want to do is make sure you are on the right layer. So right now this is not going to work, and it might not be a bad thing. I'm going to try and spot heal this actually. Some spot heal can sometimes fix little problems like this. Sometimes. Let's see if spot heal wants to be nice today. So it was kind of nice. It created a little bit of a mess for us right there, but it's nothing that we can't go ahead and fix. Unless it continues to get worse. This is one of these times when the spot heal is not one of my best friends. So if it doesn't get it on this try, what we are probably going to end up doing is, okay, yeah, so it doesn't want to work. So in this case, what we would do is we would just Command Z all the way back. Actually, no, better yet, just delete that entire layer because we don't need that. So another option that you could try doing is the patch tool, and I'm going to demonstrate that tool here. Just go ahead and move that, drop, and it should activate patching, where it was going to take away that shadow bit by bit. Slowly but surely it is going to be gone. Sometimes it can take a few times because Photoshop will try and do what it thinks you want, and sometimes it ends up not being right. The only thing you can do in that situation is basically just teach it what it is that you want. So today we want to teach it that, hey, we don't want shadows in our image. And sometimes that can take a little bit of time, but the patch tool I have found does an amazing job of taking care of that for us. Of course, processing times will vary depending on your computer. Thankfully for me, I am running on a Mac Pro that has significantly high speeds for all my programs. So I don't have to worry about that as much. So just going to drag up here. And this should slowly get rid of our shadowing issue. Okay, so slowly but surely we were getting rid of that shadowing issue that we see. There's just a little bit of it right there that I'm just going to go ahead and try and get rid of real quick. Oh, and see, there's another thing. If you go a little too fast, you can get that little cut right there, and I'll bet you that's going to be in the image once we finish processing right here. It's going to screw that up. Let's see, there we go. So we didn't want that. We're going to go ahead and Command Z, try again. Okay, I much like this result. So obviously it's not perfect. You can see a little shadowing in here still. You can really stick at this and try and remove it if you like. And of course, it's always an option if you want to sit here and try and remove it. Personally, I'm deciding that I'm just going to leave it there because I don't think it's as much of a distraction anymore. So now what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and get this little bit over out there and Command D that real quick. Sometimes selections can take a while to get perfect. I'm just going to go ahead and drag up and see how this goes. So when I was working in the lab with this specific image, I found that removing this shadow was a bit hard. Honestly, I may never get it removed. There are some things that I have found you just can't be fixed that easily. Now, of course, I could sit here for a while and eventually chances are that I'm going to come up with a way to remove it. But for right now, this does not seem to be the case. Now, why is this not moving real quick? I want to see if I can figure that out. There we go. Alright, so see, slowly you might end up getting rid of this, but in this case, what I would probably do is just leave it, or in the case we are about to demonstrate, I would simply go ahead and get rid of the entire background. So the process I am about to show you may vary in results. Some images take well to this process, some images do not. And I'm going to show you a couple examples why this does not happen. So we're kind of done with this over here. I'm just going to switch that back to my normal tool. And I'm going to grab the quick selection. It's your W key for those of you that want to use shortcuts. And for those of you that may want to use lasso, pretty simple. Just hover over, L key. So it's very simple to switch. L, and you can go right back over here. And of course, all your shortcuts are listed. You've got your V for your move tool, M for, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's fairly self-explanatory. So anyway, W is your quick selection. So we're just gonna go ahead and quick select myself here. And I'm not gonna, be too picky, but of course I would like to try and get as much of me as possible. That looks fine enough to me. So now I'm going to do a refine edge. I want to view it on black, of course. I'm going to do a smart radius. So one common misconception is that having a smart radius at 100% is what you want to do. This is just not the case. Sometimes the results will be good, sometimes they won't. sometimes I choose not even to use smart radius at all. So this time I'm actually going to go ahead and turn that off. I'm going to try my luck with decontaminating colors. See how well we can get in there. Now, this just isn't going how I want right here. So I'm going to just grab my brush, increase the size. I'm going to do a quick brush right over here and see if we can get rid of that. So, I mean, it's not perfect, and obviously it causes a bit of issues with hair color. Unavoidable, unfortunately. But, yeah, so for those of you that may be like me and just, you know, you don't like that, it's not a necessity to use this. You can, of course, go back, get your full hair back. You can render it like this, and to the average eye, if you go ahead and make a new layer, Command Shift N, drag that under there. The average person probably isn't going to notice much right here, except for the little edges on my hair. Now, what you could probably do is you could get layer masking. Oops. Switch over here. We already got a layer mask. Just get your brush tool, and you could probably just slowly brush away at the hair. Now, you're gonna notice because I have a soft edge on my brush, so we're gonna go ahead and Command Z all that. Now, what I might want to do is turn this hardness up, and definitely turn this down. Alright, so it makes it look a little bit more natural. You see, if I go in here and I just kind of do that, so now it gives it kind of a slicked back look, per se. So it's not that bad. And some people will, you know, just look at it and be like, oh, it's natural. So it could work pretty nice. Now, I don't like that change. I just may as well just Command Z that. But of course, it doesn't look that bad. However, if you put this on a black background, you get this little mess up here that is just sadly unavoidable. Now, in this case, what I might do is I might choose to, you know, just edge a little bit more of that out. Now, that's just a little too big for me. I really want to get fine edges in here. Now, the big thing with this is as long as it's a really subtle change, especially in here, some people may not notice. But down here, it's extremely apparent what the problem is, and people will notice. So, just gonna go ahead and get rid of that. Get rid of that. Go back to our other layer. So now, back into a little bit more about retouching. Sometimes what I will like to do is I will go ahead and just jump this, and I'm going to add a soft light. Now it's going to get that bit of effect there. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to filter, blur, and surface blur. Now, this is just a technique that I choose to personally use. Of course, you don't have to use it, and some people will choose not to anyway. But just for example, you see what I'm doing here. As I reduce the threshold, it changes what it's blurring. Now, I find that this threshold, maybe just a little bit higher, works for me. I'm going to turn my radius down just a little bit because I want to blur out all the details And one reason we do this is to preserve color while keeping a very smooth skin tone like this. So I kind of like how this came out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take down the opacity just a little bit to about 60-ish. Perfect. Now you guys can see a clear difference. My skin looks a little bit more smooth. The hair looks a little bit more smooth. And overall, it just looks like a bit more of a beautiful image. So that's one of the effects I like to use in my editing process. So now we're going to go back into here. And I'm going to show just a few more steps that I like to use in my editing process. So of course we have our soft light here. Now, sometimes this is the last step I do. Sometimes this is the first. It all depends on what I'm planning to do. Now, I'm going to show you guys a little bit of darken. So one thing I like to do is I like to work with darken and burn, you know, all this kind of dodge and burn. I just call it darken and burn. You know, it's simple. Burn, you're going to darken shit. Oh, I forgot to mention, please excuse in advance any mature language. That's just kind of the way I do things. And obviously, do that, dodge, it's gonna make things bright. So, we can go over here. I'm just gonna turn this up a little bit. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of go over these tones right here. I'm gonna try and make a bit more of a muscular feel. Okay, so now compared to the original, there's just a bit more definition there. So, just personal opinion, I guess, with this, but I like the effect that it brings to me. It also works fairly nice with the facial layer. You can go ahead in here, and of course we want to preserve tones, so that's why we have our soft light there. And see, we can just go ahead and brush over this. Brush over this a little bit. Kind of brush under here a little bit. Now, as you start to get into the shadows, you're going to find that it starts to lose the color effect that it kind of has in it. It makes a really shadowy look. So sometimes I choose not to use it, but the effect, of course, is noticeable. So anyway, this is the basic setup that I usually use to edit a photo. Sometimes I'll go in and I'll work with filters a little bit. And obviously you can get your auto settings right here where it'll kind of do that automatically. Sometimes I like to really do drastic things. Obviously contrast up, probably not the best idea. So for this I might set the contrast about 14, turn the brightness down right about here. Levels, usually curves, levels, I don't touch those too much. Photo filters, I like to use these a little bit. Now, warming filter is probably best for my skin tone and will probably have the best effect. Let me move that up there. So, warming filter, probably better for my skin tone. However, I much prefer stuff like cooling filters. I think that they look just a little bit better. And I like the effect that it gives me. It makes me look like I'm in kind of like a really dramatic room. So obviously I'm going to turn the opacity down on that. But I do like the effect it gives my skin. So I choose to use that. One thing people might want to do is I like to go in and I like to mess with my eye color a little bit. So I just head over here to 100%. We want to get our eyes right here. So now what we want to do is step 1. Go ahead and turn that blue filter off real quick. And I'm going to mess with this filter until we get the eye color that we want. So sometimes this will happen fast. Sometimes it might not happen at all, especially with my eyes. It can take a little bit of time. So I'm not quite finding the color I want. I think I'm going to stick with this color right here. Just turn maybe the saturation up a little bit, right about, yeah, like that. So now what I'm going to do, Command I, inverse that. So I get our brush tool. And what we're going to do is we're just going to zoom in on the eyes. And we are going to hit X to change our colors. And we're just going to brush in here. Now you guys can see I have a solid brush up here. Now what I'm going to want to do for this is I'm going to turn the hardness down. I have a couple reasons for doing this. One is that having hardness down makes it more of a light edge. So if you go over a little bit, it's a little harder to notice that error. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue on with this. Oops, no edge right there. Now, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to get this little bit right here. I'm not sure why, but let's just pretend we don't see that. Actually, one thing I would like to do, I would like to remove it from the center because I want to keep the black looking center there. So over to this eye, X. Now this eye looks to be a little bit more bright than the other eye, so we might notice errors on this eye a little bit more than we would on the other eye. It's normal. So just gonna go ahead and go in there and kind of edge out the black. Command Z 100. And now, as you guys can see, I have greenish eyes. You can of course go over here and you can begin to change eye color. Personally, I like the green. So get that green back. Perfect. So Command 0, and we're pretty much done. Thank you guys for making it through the tutorial. I hope you guys had a great time learning the program. If you have any suggestions for the next episode, what you guys would like me to teach, what types of ways of using the program you would like to see, please let me know. I do have Illustrator planned in the future. Some people have asked for After Effects. I'm not the greatest, but I'm going to do some After Effects as well. But for right now, we're sticking with Photoshop. So for those of you who may have questions of program use, feel free to throw it down in the comments. Maybe you've run into an issue that you have just not been able to fix. Go ahead and throw that down there as well. So thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.